It's always a bit confusing at the onset of studying art history when we're looking at through the Western scope that we start with architecture. Through this, what you might notice is a continuation of myth and identity being cast from the early Roman Empire through this present day, whether you live in a village, a capital city, or a small town. You will likely notice that something, it may even be your post office, looks something like St. John's Basilica. Sports stadiums look a bit like the Colosseum. That these early civilizations from so long ago can continue to echo through our lives endows them with great meaning. So much so that it is important we build a relationship through art history and understand from where the things around us came and what their meanings have been as they originally were and how those meanings changed over the course of history. The evolution of cities evolves around being organized. The Greeks did this through theater. They used it as a tool to create a uniform code that was understood by the masses. Civil codes of conduct were important for keeping the peace. We still use these methods today. It may surprise you, but theater, television, the radio, any means of communication to a mass audience is similar in that it is imposing a shared experience, a unified experience onto a large portion of people. It's not a life experience where it's one-on-one. And it is meant to oftentimes impose ideas, certain feelings, certain outcomes and beliefs, moral codes. It either destroys them or upholds them. And is the answer to why censorship is in some countries used more than in others. As cities grew, it had to deal with some serious issues. Access to clean water, trash removal, waste removal, and a kind of agreed upon law. Disease was something that needed to be avoided at all costs, and when it wasn't, there was a population decline. Cholera could easily spread. Rome had over 1 million people, or it's estimated at 1 million people. No Western city will have as big a population until the 19th century. This should not suggest that times were easy. They were tough. Half the Roman subjects died by the age of 5. Of those still alive at the age of 10, half would die by the time they were 50 years old. A Roman woman could expect to bear, on average, between 6 and 9 children. This is true anywhere in the world today where high mortality rates are a reality. People turn to whatever they can for answers to things that they find inexplicable. During the time of the early Roman Empire, most were practicing pagans, some were practicing Christians. It was a place of plurality of many religions. It wasn't until the Emperor Constantine declared himself the head of both the church, the Christian church, and as he was already head of the empire, merged himself into one, anointing himself as head of both church and state. In doing so, Christianity is uniformly de facto the religion of the empire overnight. Places like the Pantheon that were built for Athena, where there was a place to give her flowers and food, sits a pulpit where you can put money. Statues will suffer the same fate, where there used to be statues of gods and goddesses from the Greek and Roman myths. There are angels and there are saints. Pagan symbology is absorbed into Christianity as well. You will find the sun, the moon, and other symbols of nature tucked within Christian arts and even the holidays. And with that, the stability of Rome paves a path for the birth of universities, beginning with Bologna in the 1200s. These are places where one can study theology as well as law. Many of the laws that were erected then are still used today. Now, if you're wondering what all this has to do with art, well, we're going to shift very soon to paintings from that time period, the Middle Ages, from the 1100s to the 1400s. Most of that will be commissioned by the church. As such, you will see their subject matter is that of biblical stories. It's used as a means to educate the mass population. Part of this is to impart moral codes and keep the peace. Rather than theater, there is biblical stories told through murals, mosaics, paintings, statues, and architecture.